Chodesh Tov, Shalom Aleichem, and I'm so excited to be sharing an amazing story of divine providence here for Chodesh Elul. We're going to see how it connects really strong to Chodesh Elul. So the story begins on an airplane. Two men are sitting right next to each other. They've never met before. One, an Orthodox Jew from England with a kippah on his head, and next to him, a secular Jew. And everyone's starting up their conversations. It's a long flight. And this Orthodox man, we'll call him Mark Stein, not his real name. He starts chatting up his next door, we'll call his friend, it's not his real name, Joey Kimpfelheimer. So, hi, my name is Mark. Where are you from? Joey is not interested in having a conversation. He is outright terse, rude. He doesn't want to schmooze. So Mark says, okay, it's going to be a lonely flight. Takes out his Bible, starts reading. Later, they start bringing out the tea. And he again tries to make conversation, polite conversation. But once again, he's totally turned back. No interest. Just let me do my thing. So, Mark is a guy who he was upset about this. At this time, in the year 2000s, why are you so upset? Why can't you just have a nice, friendly conversation or just be friendly? And he asked him outright, why are you being so rude? To which his seatmate responds, honestly, I just hate Orthodox Jews. And I hate religion. So at this point, most of us would have been like, whoa, 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 and gotten all angry or just turned away. It's like, wow, what a jerk. But Mark, he was a sensitive soul. And he realized that something deeper must be going on. So at that moment, he turned empathetic. And he took a soft hand and he said, Joey, what's the story? What happened? And at that point, Joey takes off the mask that was separating him from his friend. And he says, well, I'll tell you the truth. You see, I'm a Holocaust survivor. And I remember like it was yesterday. My wife and my son, they were rounded up. And we forced to dig our own graves. And those horrible, horrible Nazis shot my wife and my child in front of my eyes. And at that moment, I said, is this the repayment that God gives to us? And I said, I never want to have anything to do with religion. Never want anything to do with this God. My wife, my son, they were the sweetest people in the world. If that's the repayment that they get, I'm done with religion and I'm done with anything having to do with religion. And that's why I don't like religious Jews. Whoa. At this point, Mark said, whoa, some serious stuff going on here. And he kept the conversation cordial. They were a bit nicer to each other. They didn't touch into religion. And they went their separate ways on relatively friendly terms, thinking they'd never see each other again. 7 months later, Mark is walking. It's the break at Yom Kippur, between Shachar and Musaf. Sometimes you get an hour or two break, take a walk. And Mark is walking in Katamon where he prayed, where he davened. And he sees someone smoking. Not only smoking, but like he knew it was Yom Kippur and he raised his cigarette to the guy passing by. So Mark is a pretty brave guy. And he says he's going to give the guy a little musser. To be smoking out in public on Yom Kippur here in Katamon, not nice. He goes over to the guy, and lo and behold, I'm sure you already guessed it, it's his friend, the seatmate, Joey Kimplefine. He says, Joey, what are you doing here? And Joey's also a bit shocked, but, I'm just having a smoke. I was visiting family. And he says, Joey, Mark says to Joey, this is divine providence. You gotta come. You gotta come with me to synagogue. And he knows that he hasn't been to synagogue for years and years, but he's pushing him. And Joey says, don't you realize that I'm not interested in this religious stuff? Get out of here. Mark says, don't do it for religion. Don't do it for God. Do it for your wife and your son. Have you ever said a Kaddish for them in their honor? And Joey says, whoa, never thought of it like that. And he didn't want to be disrespectful towards his wife, who he still loves so much, his son. He says, all right, fine. I'll get in, I'll get out. And Mark says, good, come back with me. And they're gonna do the Yizkor. They're gonna do a Kaddish. And he takes him to synagogue. And Mark is determined that this should be a positive experience. And he goes over to every person in the synagogue and says, oh, this is my friend Joey. He hasn't been here in synagogue for a long time. He's from this and that. And they're all very friendly. Fine. The time comes finally to say the Yizkor. And the Chazan, says it. And you could see that Joey's getting a little bit more emotional. And Mark goes and says, can we do a special Kel Malei Rachamim for the sake of this mother, this wife, and this son of our dear friend Joey here? And so the Chazan says, no problem. What's the name? And Joey says, Itzko ben Babsha and Babsha ben Sarah Fruma. And at that moment, the Chazan turns white. And he davens the whole thing. And Mark starts crying. And he can't hold himself back from the tears just flowing down. And right at the end of the Kel Malei Rachamim, he wants to sneak away. And the Chazan comes up to him and says, I got your name. Joey, I got your children's name. Can you please tell me what your last name is? And so Joey's a bit confused, but he says, well, my name is Joey Kimpelfeimer. And at that moment, the Chazan faints. La vie